Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome and thanks for being here. First off, shout out to Adam and everyone on the Cardboard Association Facebook group. So many of you have reached out and started following the podcast after the Shriners show recap. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for being here. Back in March, I did an episode, My Road to the National, Part 1. And like everything else, in a well thought out plan, 2 months later, almost to the day, so many things have changed. Airfare extended an additional day. I was flying home Sunday morning. I am now flying home Monday. Hotel also extended a day. Table upgraded from 2 showcases to a larger space. The Wolfpack Network Group has a trade night event planned for Friday night at the Crown Plaza Hotel across the street from the convention center. Even down to the inventory I first planned that I talked about bringing to National has completely changed. Originally talking about, RPAs, $1,000 to $5,000, a variety. That has completely changed to mostly cards priced from $200 to $1,400 range, with maybe a handful of higher end cards that I've already acquired that I'll keep in the inventory to bring out there. And I talked about, from my observations, this being kind of a sweet spot, setting up at shows, just getting out to shows. I really think this price range is going to be my sweet spot anyways. What's good for me is not good for other people, right? Maybe some. So what I'm the information I put out there, what works for me, if it works for you, great. I know people are going to be going to, and I have to say, I'm going to have to change how I say this, because I did have a listener say, man, if I could just get you to say the National and not National. So for you, I'm going to try to insert the in front of it the best I can. Can't promise you anything. But I know people are going to be going to the National, to buy a Grail cards. They always do. So many people you talk to say, my goal is to buy, this one big card, because they know here is a place you'll be able to find it. My plan going out there this year was to find the Mike Tyson PMG. And I found it, right? So now I don't have another Grail card right now that in mind that I'm going to be looking for out there, because I already completed the plan. And in fact, I should have put that at the bullet points at the beginning, Grail card to seek out at the National. I already have. And I know we all know there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of big cards being sold out there, but that's kind of not my lane. That's not where I need to be. And as we go along, you'll see why. When I was in Toronto, I was trying, my goal was to sell hockey out there. And I did sell a lot of my hockey, although I didn't sell my high-end cards. And a lot of the high-end cards, I went up to the dealers, and they said to me, man, last year I would have bought all these cards because that's what we're selling. But this year I can't touch those. They'll just sit in my case. It'll be money that will be just stuck sitting in my case. This year everyone wants the $500 to $1,500 cards. And, we're talking Canadian currency. So when I was out there, I was able to sell a number of cards to get Canadian currency to purchase my Mike Tyson card. I was able to find dealers. There was a good amount of dealers out there that were paying me American money and American comps for my American cards. So that allowed me to come back and take that money and start buying as planned cards in that price range, that $2 to $1,400 to, start preparing for the national. Um, I went to visit my buddy Alex this week at Ideal Cards in Terryville, Connecticut, a really nice LCS. And he had a lot of the same things to say. People are buying the lower end cards. He's even switched his store around. Um, in his cases that he used to have the higher end cards, he's moved them out, and he's, the most viewed cases, I should say, he's put lower end cards in there, and he says they're selling like crazy. Like can't keep them in the case, right? So um, I listen to things like that, and it just confirms the things that I'm thinking. That this is where I think people are comfortable. I think this is a comfortable lane for people to purchase in that price range. When I was in Toronto, I stopped at the Four Sharp Corners consignment booth. And I just started talking to the guys. I met Troy over there. And just in conversation, I asked what people were more likely to consign these days. Um, and he said the same thing. He said mostly high-end stuff. It's tough to move at shows. It's tough to try to sell yourself online because people are afraid. Um, to start something that's high end at 99 cents, and be afraid that it's going to go for too cheap, and not so people get nervous and they don't want to do it themselves. So they'll pass them off to an auction house, and obviously get more eyes. There's a lot more eyes on auction, and even though I see them on eBay. um but they promise to do, a lot of advertising, just like most of these consignment places do a lot of advertising, and hope to get as many eyes on the card as possible. And then it's just a matter of, who's going to pay for it. People are going to pay comps. But even then, a lot of these higher end cards right now are selling for under its current values, but probably getting more money through a consignment than they would through just doing it themselves. I mean, I've talked about putting stuff up on eBay, but I've put it all on a buy it now price with a best offer. And when I first put it up, there were a lot of cards. I mean, I moved a number of cards at the beginning. Now it seemed to slow down a bit. I get some, low ball offers on cards, but that's okay because that's part of my show inventory, right? So I don't mind. Like they're they're out there for somebody to look at when I'm between shows, because when I go to shows, I'll be bringing all these same cards to the shows. So whether they sell there or they sell at the show, it doesn't matter to me as long as they sell. Uh, I talked about having to sell football before the season starts. And these cards that I'm picking up, I feel are pretty liquid, right? These $2 to $1,400, they're all pretty liquid cards. And if they don't move at the national, they may move in. I shouldn't say they should move in August. Like whatever I want to get rid of, if you got a liquid card, they're going to move. And even they talk about liquidating cards, like trying to, I mean, I'm not in the business to take a loss on a card, but if, I buy the cards at a good price and I can't make a profit, but I'm still able to move the card. I'm able to move the card. But I think when you get into those higher end cards, those higher end RPAs, if you don't move them at the national, uh, it's a lot tougher, and you feel a little bit more desperate in August if it's something that you planned on moving and cashing out of. Uh, and when you get a little desperate like that, you're usually selling them for a lot less than you wanted to. So as a buyer, if you're in the right place at the right time, right, and this was a card you wanted, it may be a great deal, a great deal for you to buy this. But for me, I don't want to be sitting on cards. I sat on cards. I have cards, and I talked about, a few cards, higher end cards I'll bring, this year. because I purchased those cards last year to bring, and they didn't sell. So now I've had these cards. I put these cards in my case. I've carried them with me for the whole year. Um, I would not sell them at a discount because I felt they were just awesome cards, and I would, before I sold them at a discount, I would just keep them myself. And they're the same cards I put in my case, and people come up and be like, "Man, that is a good looking card." Right? So sooner or later, someone's going to pull the trigger on that card, and I'm glad I've held on to them. There's a number of cards that I've held on to for a while that I said, you know what, I'm just not going to let it go for less than I paid for it. And at the end of the day, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I held on to those cards because I think they're great cards, and I'm still confident that with this upcoming season, they will move. Um, Hopefully before September. I talked about my pickups from Shriners, all in that desired range. And it was, you heard on Monday's episode, it was just a great day for me to get up there. And, coming in cash heavy, I was able to buy stuff, and, a couple three pieces together, a three piece. Um, that's happened to me a lot as a dealer, where somebody comes up and says, "I like this card, I like that card, I like this card," and wanna work out a price. And I'm about 50-50 accepting, the price depending on the price ranges of the cards, and not accepting it, just saying, "We're too far apart. I understand you want a deal buying them together, but I just can't get there. I can't get there on these 3 cards. I need more for these 3 cards." And I found the same thing, that I was doing on the other end. It was, I felt that I was getting some of the same information, that I was giving when presented those opportunities. Um, so it's not easy, and I think I listened back, Monday's episode, and I think I kinda came across like it was real easy to do this, and it wasn't. And I don't want you to think it's easy. Like if you're cash heavy, you could just go in and pick 3 or 4 cards out of someone's case and just offer them whatever they want, and they're going to take it. It wasn't easy. It's never easy. And if you participate in the hobby and you get out to shows, it's not easy. You never know who you're dealing with on the other side of the table. Um, and sometimes you give a little on certain cards, and sometimes you get a little on certain cards. But at the end of the day, if the prices can work out and you think you're within that price range that you can make that work for you, then it's great to get it. I just didn't want to come off saying, I didn't want anybody thinking that it was just easy to go. And as long as you're buying multiple cards from one person, you can get this really great deal. But I mean, there's a deal to be had for certain, some people and not others, but it's not going to happen all the time. And you have to work at it. It's all in negotiation. And you just kind of have to know your numbers on each card and then add it up, right? And it's exactly what I did. I went through each card. I figured out what the comp was. I figured out what I wanted to pay for the card, right? And then I took the 3 cards and I added them together. Now I'm at a price, and this is what I'm offering. So if the dealer is coming back to me saying, I want $100 more, can I find $100 in these cards? And if I can, then I can take the deal. If I can't, I'll say, I can't find another $100 in these cards. I could find $50 in these cards, or I could find $40 in these cards, or $60. This is what I can find in the card, and this is what makes sense to me. And if he agrees upon it and you shake your hand, you're good, right? You make the deal. But I did this a number of times, and more times it ended with no handshake than it did a handshake. I just talked about and showed you the deals I got, but I didn't talk about the deals that I didn't get, that maybe we were so far off that we weren't even close. So again, I just want to say it's all, you just have to get out there. It's all working. It's all just negotiating, trying to get the best deal you can. I'll be at the Mount Kisco, New York card show this Sunday. I'll be shopping for more of the same stuff. So if you are there, definitely, or you plan on being there, definitely message me or look for me there. Say hello. I'll be there first thing Sunday morning. I like that show. I've been to that show a number of times. I missed it this last time. They only hold it every few months. And I just think it's, for me, it's just always been a great buying show. I've never left that show not feeling great about the deals that I got at that show. So, and I think I've been to that show 4 or 5 times over the last couple years. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to the show. Um, Here we are, 1 week post draft. And it appears some of the football comps are going up. Um, and this is really just me watching sales on eBay, looking for patterns, looking for consistencies. Something that I like to do. I have a lot of extra time and I like to, I have a number of cards or certain cards that I'm always watching the prices on just to see where they're going. Because I just feel that if these prices go up or down on these particular cards, it's pretty equal for most. And I do this with a lot of Mahomes cards, because here's a guy that I feel that um, his prices are so high, right? So if I see prices going up on his cards, then generally you're going to see prices go up on other cards. And if his prices come down, you generally see prices go down on other cards. So it's just like I said, it's patterns and consistencies that I look for, and I'm always watching just to get an idea of, what's going on online on eBay. And I know you can't trust all those sales on there, but I'm able to trust enough of the sales um, by just getting an average. So if I see one card has sold, and I'll just give you for instance, a 2017 the Optic Pink and a PSA 9, because that's just a card that I purchased, right? So we see some comps at it, and on the first numbers I'm going to throw out because I know there were some low numbers, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I think they were around the $600, the 550, 580, 600, 620. I think they were kind of around there. And then all of a sudden, Sunday night, I saw a sale for $711. And then Monday night, I saw a sale. I think it was about 730 or 735. And last night, I think it was 729. Right. So um, consistently, the prices have come up. Hopefully, they'll stay there, or hopefully, they'll go up a little higher. All right. But I know it's tough on his cards because the prices are so high to begin with, even though, he just won his second Super Bowl, right? And I think his prices kind of held pretty close. February, March, April. Here we are in May, and now they've climbed up a little. I mean, good news for me, good news for people who are holding Patrick Mahomes cards, right? But if his cards come up, then we know like Joe Burrow's cards are going to come up, and other quarterbacks that have been popular over the last, year or two, or I should really say over the last season, because some of those quarterbacks have dropped off a little bit too. So yeah, it's something I do. It's just patterns and consistency. Um, and my plan with all these cards, no matter what happens with these comps, no matter what happens that I see where it's jumping up to or where it's going, all these cards that I'm buying, I'm closeting these cards. I'm not going to be bringing them to shows. I'm committed to strong hands just to keep them here. I have a decent amount of inventory here that I can fill up a table in the next shows that I'm doing. Um, This is May. I think I know I'm doing the Fenway show at the end of May. We have a Springfield show coming up at the beginning of, I think it's June 5th. Um, I am going to the Chantilly show, third week in June, around the 21st, 22nd. I don't have the dates for that. So there's 3 shows that I'm planning on doing, and I believe I have enough inventory to put out and not put out any of these cards that I'm picking up that I plan on taking to the National. Um, I know because I get comments and I hear the way, people talk about dealers, right? And I know a lot of people think dealers get cards at ridiculously low prices and make huge profits. And there may be some that do that. I am not going to say that it doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you it doesn't happen to me, right? There's nowhere that I go out and get a card at a ridiculously low price. I may be able to buy a card, right, that has gone up in value and then make a trade to somebody else, knowing that I bought a card at 200, the value went up to 500, and I traded for a $600 card. So at the end of the day, it cost me 200 for a $600 card, but it may have been 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months in between that. It didn't happen like in one day or 1 hour or something like that. Um, so what I will tell you is, for me, is buying when people are selling and selling when people are buying. So exactly what I'm talking about now and what I've been doing is buying these cars and just holding them, right? If I can get them at a good deal right now, because there's people at these shows, right? That's all they sell is football. So they have to, if they want to be a dealer and they have to set up. I was that guy. I was that guy a couple of years ago, right? All I had was football. And then football season started and I had football and, people are saying, well, this card's only selling at 100, but you have a $200 price on it. But I know it sold for $250 in August, but now here is September, October, it's only selling for $100, right? So if you want to have sales, you have to sell it, right? So am I taking advantage of that market? Maybe I am, right? Maybe that's what I should be saying. I'm just taking advantage of people selling at current comps when I know that these comps are going to go up on some of these cards, and I'm hoping. I shouldn't say I know it. I hope some of these comps are going to go up on these cards because this is really, the plan of action. uh, there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee. And I can tell you, I've probably got stuck with as many cards that I lost value with than cards with the same amount of cards that I gained value with. So it's not a guaranteed thing. It's not me saying, "Hey, I'm buying these Mahomes cards now and they're gonna go up 30 or 40% come July." There's no guarantee for that. I can only hope. I can only say there's patterns of this happening, and I hope it happens for me, but there's no guarantee it's going to happen. And at the end of the day, I could be stuck holding all these cards saying, well, I may have to take a loss. And you here on the podcast, you're going to be the first to know because I don't hold any punches. I tell you exactly what I do and what happens, and whether it's good or bad, you're going to be the first to know. Next week, Sports Card Therapist will be on for another collaboration episode. Looking forward to that. That's all I got for you today. Have a great weekend. And again, if you're going to be at the Mount Kisco show, look for me. Stop me, say hello. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please like, definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.